What up, y'all? It's Deadbolt from Deadbolt Customs. Today we're gonna be swapping out some turn signals. So I'm gonna go through what y'all gonna need, and then also how y'all can get a clean look on this thing. All right. It's gonna take a little bit of soldering. I'm gonna show y'all some tools that y'all need to make it look neat. You know what I'm saying? Make it functional. All right. So let's get it. So first thing we want to do is take out the old turn signals. It's gonna take a little bit of oomph. You got your wires down here. They should be spliced if they are aftermarket, and they'll have the OEM if they're factory. All right. So after you get the bolt loose in the back, you just fish it out. So all we're gonna be doing is fishing right now. You got connectors and you got bolts. That's gonna obstruct you from being able to pull this stuff out, but there we go. We got one out. We got one to go. Part we need is right here at the end. I'm gonna show you how to get a clean look, so you're not looking like this at the end of your pigtails. You shouldn't be like this. All right, so we got our lights off. The parts we need are just the connectors. I'm going from left to right. I'm gonna show you exactly what you need. You need a pair of strippers for your cables. You need some flux for the heat to go through the wires faster, so you don't have to burn up the wires trying to get the solder to melt. You know, hot soldering iron. Your solder doesn't matter what kind you get, just as long as it's like a low heat. You need some heat shrink. I got this on Wish, real cheap. All different kinds of sizes, but you want to get the size closest to your wires. A torch or a heat gun, it don't matter which one you have, and your new lights. And the reason for needing the old lights is so that you can convert out the connector, because your new lights are probably not going to come with the same connector. So that's all you need. All these items here will get you where you need to be to get a professional look on your wires. All right, let's jump into it. All right, let's backtrack a little bit. One thing I failed to go over is verifying the polarities of your lights, your wires. So sometimes you're gonna get wires that don't have positive and negative color wiring, like this one here. See how on the connector both the wires is black with a strip of gray. If you run across that issue, all you can hope for is that you still have the bike or whatever with you. You got the key where you can go on in and test the wire, make sure that the light is good. All right, so let's set this up right here. All right, so I got the connector down here. I'm gonna plug in an old connector back in there. All we're gonna do is just test, make sure we figure out the right polarity for this thing. All right, and I turn the signal on. This one we know for sure. This is negative. This is positive. And we're just gonna test the wires. So that's it right there. So according to this one, the yellow is the positive and the green is the negative. Now if we try it reverse sides, we shouldn't get anything. See? Nothing at all. So now we know that we got positive here, negative here. Now that we have established our positive and negative wire, we can go ahead and do the same thing with the other light. Now, sometimes you're gonna have two lights that are just different. You know, some people do their own thing when they trying to modify their bikes. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna compare the two wires, right? So this one was done a little better. I cut this one loose from the connector that, or from the light we had already checked. So now we got this one here. We just want to look at the two connectors. All right, and they got two different colors on here. Sometimes that means there's a right light and a left light, but the connectors are two different colors. In this case, it don't matter to us because we still gonna do what it do anyway. So and all I'm doing is stripping back the heat shrink off of these because it looked like they already did some solder work on this one. Okay, which is fine. This is exactly what we need to do, especially if we want it to be waterproof and all that stuff. The thing about using those crimp connectors and stuff like that is that most of them aren't waterproof. And if you live in a place like I do, I live in Hawaii, and the salt content is it's thicker in the air, so no matter how well you protect your wires or you crimp or whatever, the salt in the air is still gonna get to them, and over time you're gonna get this corrosion and stuff going on. Now this is where we're gonna plug this in at. We need to get this thing hot so we can take the solder loose from the connector here, because we don't want to continue to cut back on this. Okay, we want this to be we want it to be as long as we can get this in here. This one we in good shape. All right, so this is how I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna use my hydro flask. I know this ain't a proper holder, but that's what I'm gonna do. Just use that to hold it. All right, so we got our positive wire, and we got our negative wire, and then we pay attention to the connector. There's a little notch right here on the connector, so you know that when this is facing up, the left wire is going to be positive. So that's going to be the same thing for the other connector. It's going to be the notch up, the left wire is going to be positive. So you're going to remember that and continue that out throughout the process. Now we got our new wires here, which are labeled well, because you clearly have a positive with the red, negative with the black. But a little excessive on the length of this, so we can cut this down. We only need about half of this length, really. So we'll cut it back to about halfway, and then we'll do the heat shrink thing the rest of the way. So how I like to do it is I like to pull back on it on the heat shrink a little bit, get a nice little space in between here, and then once I get like a nice little gap here, I'll fold it in half. I'll fold it in half like that. And I'll take my snips and I'll snip that wire. Now this here could be used for something else in any of your later projects, so hold on to it. You never know when you'll need it. And now that we got this portion here, you push those wires back up through there like that. See there? And we got enough to put our heat shrinks down in there and still get a nice little thing going. So we want to strip these back. Really, these strippers, they have different sizes and holes in here. You're just gonna find which hole works best for stripping that wire. Normally these wires anywhere between 18 and 22 gauge, and it don't take much. You just give it a little twist and then pull out. Again, you can twist the braids on the end here. Right? And then we're gonna go into our O connector, which we know what's what now, so we can go ahead and cut away at those and have a free conscience that we doing it right. All right, and then the same thing for these. Give it a little twist and then back off of it a little bit and then pull it straight out. Crimp it down, give it a little twist, pull it out. So you got that side there, you got this side here. And then remember, notch up, left side, positive, right side, negative. I keep going over this because if you do like a really clean job at soldering your wires and you get all the way through the whole process, you get ready, you done got them all done and stuff, and then you get to your bike, you get ready to put them on there. You plug them in, you realize, oh shit, the lights aren't working. And that could be just because you soldered the wrong wires. And then in that case, you got to come in, you got to undo it, and it's just a bunch of work. You know, it's a bunch of work for no reason. Now with heat shrinks, it don't matter what the colors are. Really, as long as you know what's what when you getting ready to do your heat shrinking and stuff. For me, I like to color coordinate, which is why I went ahead and got the package with the red and the white, or the red and the black heat shrinks. So these, they like an inch and a half long. I'm just cutting them back, you know, just to so I don't use up a whole lot of material for nothing. But so I got two of them. I'm gonna pair them up, black and red. And what you want to do is you want to slip these on before you start soldering. So I get that slipped on, and get this slipped on. Really ain't no rule to these either, as long as they're gonna be able to fit over the wire once you get done soldering. You gotta be able to slide these back over in order to get a nice seal. So I got those two. Those are gonna cover each individual wire, and then I got a slightly bigger one that's going to cover both of those. And this is what's gonna give us our clean seal. And you'll see later on once I get to that area. All right. So we got that there. We got this here. Now what we want to do is we want to go in here with the flux, right? Now the thing about flux is that it distributes the heat evenly on the wire, and it causes the flux, it causes your solder to flow evenly and real fast too. So you don't have to worry about like sitting and holding the iron on your wires too long, and your wires can burn and start melting. We don't want that to happen. So all we did was just dip it in there. You're not scooping the stuff, you know, you just dip it in there. Just get it just barely on the tips, right? Then you're gonna apply that method that we was talking about before. Make sure the top is up, or the notch is up at the top. You can do this a whole bunch of different ways. How I like to do it is I like to butt the two of them together here. I don't know if it's Let's see. There we go. Button these two together and then twist. Like make them go around each other here. Okay. Now, like I said, there's a bunch of different ways you could do this. This way I found to be more clean. So we'll start with this side. So we got it there. This also works really good if you have like some clips or clamps that you could have your wires held together, so you don't have to have 3 and 4 hands at one time. You know, sometimes it's good to have some extra hands and extra fingers, but if you don't, that's fine too. I don't. So I'm gonna show y'all how I do it. I like to preload my solder onto my solder iron. A lot of people that say that's wrong because you're just gonna burn through the tips. Really, you're gonna burn through the tips regardless, so it don't matter. As long as you get enough solder on there to move around on the wire once you tap it. And that's all we need. So I got it there. And all I want to do is tap the wire. I don't want to let it sit. I just want to tap it. Okay? And every time I tap it a little more the flux just moves the solder around on the wire. And like I was saying, if you stay too long on the wire, you're gonna melt through it. You're gonna melt through the wire, and you'll start seeing the plastic on the wire recede, and you don't want that. You just want an even flow, which is solder. That's it. And you want it to at least cover around the outside of the wire. See there? We good right there. I'm satisfied with that. That don't have to be perfect. All right. Don't get caught up in being a neat freak about it. All you're trying to do is make sure you got good connection between the two wires, so you ain't your voltage don't drop. A lot of times with wires, if you got the wrong gauge of wire, it'll push more current through a wire than you need it to, or it'll push less current through a wire than you need. And that will result in whatever you're trying to operate not operating functioning properly. If you got too much current going through your wires, then chances are you're gonna burn out your bulbs. If you ain't got enough, then you're gonna get your light bulbs not working properly. And sometimes you're gonna get them to light, sometimes they're not gonna light. They're gonna be dim in some areas, you know. See there, all we doing is touching. Touching, you're keeping your eyes out for the wires melting on the end. You don't want that. You just want to keep on touching it till you get it, till you get the solder flowing around there. Once the solder locks in with the wires, then you're good to go. You don't heat it up no more. All right. So we got that one. Now it's the heat shrink time. We got our wires good. We got the solder on there right. You're gonna cover up these wires with the shielding. The reason why we're doing this is so that the wires don't get crossed up later on, burn each other, burn out your battery or whatever, short out some wires somewhere, and put you in a world of pain with electrical issues. You know what I'm saying? Nobody want that. So there's a bunch of ways you could do this too. You could do it with a heat gun. You know what I'm saying? You could do it like how I'm doing it with a torch light. Hell, you could even use a Zippo. You know what I'm saying? If you got a Zippo, you can use a Zippo. All you're doing is heating up those, heating up the tubing so it can shrink onto the wire. Now, one thing you gotta worry about when you're using like a lighter like that is staying, or using the torch is staying on the wire too long. If you stay on the wire too long, you're gonna burn through it anyway. The same, it'll be same difference as if he was using that thing there. And then we're gonna use this to go over the top. So how I think of it is this area here, right? This is the area where the where it's gonna be right at the fairing. There's not gonna be much heat getting to that portion, right, where the fairing is. But wherever your wires are laying at inside of your fairings, once you get down by the connector, that's kind of sort of where you're gonna be experiencing heat and stuff at. So what I like to do is I'm gonna use this to cover up the majority of the wire that I think is gonna be exposed to heat the most. So I'm gonna give it a little push right here, right? And then I'm gonna leave a little leeway here. And this is just in case if we need to test the wires for any reason. If say something's going wrong, we can test it right here at the terminal. All right, and then you got a little extra movement. But we're gonna shrink this down right here. That's it. Shrink it down right there. Leave this open here because this little area ain't gonna matter, and you need it to be a little pliable right here, so you can maneuver your wires around. There we go. So we got our torch. We're gonna keep this wire moving. You never want to let it sit too long. You just want to keep it moving. Okay? And there we go. Clean, right? All clean. One down. I'm going to get back to y'all when I got the next one. And we're going to go out and we're going to put these on the bikes, alright? Alright, failed to mention about what to do with this one. Remember, this one had the solder already on it, and we cut those heat shrinks back. All you do is just heat this back up and kind of pull away at it at the same time. So put something with some weight on top of the terminal end. All right, through there, just to give it a little weight, and then you just gonna heat it, and see how it just came right off. You do that for both sides. Sometimes the solder will be so bulky and so out of whack that it'll be harder for you to reuse again, but they look good. So we're gonna reuse them. We're gonna keep it moving. All right, we got both of our wires done, both looking good. And all we're gonna do is take it out there. We're gonna do what we gotta do. One thing to worry about sometimes when you get a bike that's been sitting through the weather, and you already know that the wires are bad and have been corroded, have been growing corrosion on them and all that stuff. How you can get your wires to be conductive again is by running some sandpaper across them. Like so, once you strip your wires back, you see all this ashy stuff going on inside the wire. Chances are you want to just get rid of that and redo that wire anyway. But if you need to just do a quick fix, you can always run sandpaper over your wires to get them back, get that copper to shine again, and then that flux will stick to them again. All right. So let's go outside and do what we got to do. All right. Let me show y'all what it do. All right, so we back out here. One thing I didn't talk to y'all about was the actual spacers that go in between the light area. If you don't have those, no biggie. All you need is some plastic and some tin snips or some scissors or something like that you can cut the plastic with. And all you do is you come out here with a piece of paper or some tape. You draw out that area on the tape. You pull the tape off. You stick it to a piece of plastic or whatever, It could be something like a frisbee, old frisbee that you get when you go to one of them events, one of those events that they be throwing out there in the parks and stuff. And you drill a hole through the middle, right? And then you go ahead and you put that sticky tape on there, and you cut out around the area that you traced right here, and that'll give you your spacing. You want one for each side, so you want one on this side, and then one to go inside the inside. So you want one back here to hold, and then one up here to hold. There's a little lip that goes around in here that those sit on and actually couple. So what I already have two of them, right? And then I got these here that I'm going to fabricate and duplicate what happened in the front side. So all I'm gonna do is hold this up. I'm gonna cut it out. I'm just gonna follow the line. They don't have to be perfect. The ones in the back don't really have to be perfect. The ones in the front side, you want them to be a little clean, and that's just for looks, and you actually want it to sit pretty nice. You know what I'm saying? You don't want it to be all jagged edged and everything. You want it to have a nice little shape to it. Once you get these cut out, you can go and you can use sandpaper just like we did on the PVC, because that's all this is. It's just PVC plastic. And there, we got that cut out in what, a couple seconds. That's all we need. You're gonna take your new light. We got our new light here. They come with a bolt and all of that already on them, so this is the only thing you don't need from the other light, is this portion here. Sometimes the connector will be bigger than the nut itself. That's all right, okay? So since our nut is bigger than our connector, or smaller than our connector, we're not gonna necessarily be able to get it off without creating some sort of grooves in it. So we'll leave it on. But instead, what we'll do is you'll cut a slash inside of your connector, or inside of your converter piece, right? So we cut a slash in here. Now we can bend it and we can get the wire through without going through any further hassles. Man, this type of stuff here is just, it's all brain over matter type stuff, okay? So it's gonna be what you make it. People will tell you that you need special tools to get your custom on, and to do things that you need to do to make your bike what it is. I mean, if you got the money, you spend the money. But if you ain't got the money, man, then I say don't fixate on that. You find a way. You find a way to get it done for you. You know what I'm saying? Because majority of the time, people ain't gonna be sitting up that close on your bike to even realize what you did to make it work. All they're gonna look at is the after result, and then when they see it, they're gonna be like, "Dang, that's tight. Where'd you go to get that done?" And you be like, "I did it myself." And they be like, "Word?" And you be like, "Yeah, word." And that's how it started. So I got the black on the outside, green on the inside, which the green is not gonna get seen. We're gonna fish our wire through here, and you'll see it drop on the bottom side.
Who you talking to?
This camera.
Who?
I'm doing a video.
You doing a video? Hey, we'll be right. I'm gonna drop this bread. We'll be right back on.
All right. And then you got it sitting flush on the outside there. For this, how I like to do is I like to leave the wire disconnected so I can hold the bolt in the back and then turn the light rather than the other way around. You can get a few turns out of the bolt sometimes, but sometimes you can't get your fingers back here in the back to really get a good grip on it. So if you ever had that to happen, just keep the connectors disconnected until you get it nice and tight. Okay. So I'm getting it pretty good and tight. Alright. So I get it like a snug tightness. It's snug. So now that I got it snug, all I want to do is kind of hold, like a finger hold on the nut back here, and I want to give this a couple turns. You know what I'm saying? There we go. And we got a nice tight ordeal going on here. See there? That's it. That's all it takes. It's in there. It's where it needs to be. And it didn't take a whole lot to do that, you know. It don't take a whole lot. It don't take a whole lot of that. If I wasn't doing this video, I probably would have got it done in about 15 minutes. But my goal is to make sure that all of y'all people that's ready to get into some DIY are able to do what y'all can, you know. So now we have excess wire, right? Remember how we chopped down some of that wire? See how long it still is? I mean, it's still long even after we chopped it. Ain't nothing we could do but put some zip ties on it and shrink it down even more, and then tuck it down behind the fairings, you know. But really, like, and that's about it. That's all it takes. We can go this way with it. Preferably up here is where you want it to lie. Because you ain't got to really worry about it up there. You ain't got to worry about no heat up there at the top if you get it in the top of the fairings. So that's one side. I'm going to do the other side, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to talk to y'all a little more. But that's all we're doing. We building this community up of just people who want to do their own bikes. They're just tired of paying all this money for people to just do something so simple for you. You know? I mean, you got to pay for labor. That's regardless out here. Living out here, it don't come cheap, so you got people, they paying double and triple prices for stuff that ain't even hard. It's very simple stuff, you know, very, very simple. All it takes is just a little effort, and just for you to be confident that you could do this, because you can. Anybody could do this. All right, hold on, I'll be back. All right, now for the moment of truth. We're gonna turn the key on this thing. We're gonna see what we got. All right, so we got the right side. Oh, we in there. We are in there. And then we got the left, no, the right side there. Left first side was left side. So we good, y'all. Yep. So ain't nothing to it but to do it. Y'all stay motivated, man, and continue fabricating, continue modifying. Never give up on your vision for your bike. If you can't do it, hit me up on my DM, inbox, whatever y'all call it. Shoot me a message, and I'll help you get it right, man. All right, gotta ride. Man, I gotta leave my family with one. If you can't handle your bike, then don't ride out here. All right, I'm gone. One's up.